Hello, this is Bentvnewsroundupthis Roundup, a compilation of major stories in the weekend. I'm Tunde Alabi. Thank you for being part of the program today. Government and Labour Party have clashed at the Prime Minister's question time over government negotiation strategy and preparation to deal with the impact of Brexit. Mr. Corbyn accused the government of uncoordinated Brexit negotiation and lack of preparation to deal with the impact of Brexit.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Foreign Secretary said there can be no border. That would be unthinkable. Well, maybe, but they've had 17 months to come up with an answer to this question, and there still is no answer to the question because they've not engaged with the negotiations properly. There's another person, Mr. Speaker, who doesn't think the negotiations are going too well, and that's the Right Honourable Member for Wokingham, who was a very enthusiastic campaigner for Brexit, but also, he's a busy man, finds time also to be the chief global strategist for Charles Stanley Investments. And he recently advised clients to invest elsewhere as the UK is hitting the brakes. Does the Prime Minister take advice from the member for Wokingham, and does she agree with him?
If I can address the first issue that the Right Honourable Gentleman raised, we have been engaging fully in the negotiations in relation to Northern Ireland and other issues with the negotiations, and indeed significant progress has been made. That's why, for example, I've said that we have got agreement on the operation of the common travel area for the future. He says we haven't put any ideas about the border out. Well, I have to say to him, we actually published a paper back in the summer on the possible customs arrangements that could take place. We're very happy to move to further detailed discussions of the customs and trading relationship we will have not just between Northern Ireland and the Republic, but between the United Kingdom and the European Union. That does mean moving on to phase 2. And the question from the Right Honourable Gentleman is, if he thinks it's so important, why does his MEPs vote against it?
Mr. Speaker, the EU's chief negotiator said this week the UK financial sector will lose its current rights to trade with Europe. It seems neither EU negotiators nor the government have any idea where this is going. Last week, the Brexit Secretary said he would guarantee free movement for bankers post-Brexit. Are there any other groups to whom the Prime Minister believes freedom of movement should apply? Nurses, doctors, teachers, scientists, agricultural workers, care workers, who?
I'm very interested that the Right Honourable Gentleman has found that his appearances at Prime Minister's questions have been going so well. He's had to borrow a question from the leader of the Liberal Democrats, which he asked me last week. Perhaps the leader of the opposition should pay a little more attention to what happens in Prime Minister's questions. We have been absolutely clear that we will be introducing new immigration rules, and as we introduce those immigration rules, we will take account of the needs of the British economy in doing so. That's why my Right Honourable friend, the Home Secretary, has asked the Migration Advisory Committee to advise on, as they always do, on those areas where we need to pay particular attention to migration coming into the United Kingdom. We want to get on to deal with the question of the future trading relationship that we have with the European Union. But I am also optimistic about the opportunities that will be available to this country and about the deal that we can get from the negotiations we're having. The Right Honourable Gentleman can't even decide whether he wants to be in the customs union, out of it, in the single market, out of it. He needs to get his own act together.
In April, Mr. Speaker, the Brexit Secretary was confident the European Banking Authority would be staying in London. Now he can't even guarantee banks having a right to trade with Europe. Last week, the government voted down Labour's amendments to protect workers' rights. The Foreign Secretary has described employment regulation as, and I quote, backbreaking, and repeatedly promised to, and I quote again, scrap the social chapter. Why won't she guarantee workers' rights, or does she agree with the Foreign Secretary on these matters?
We have guaranteed workers' rights. We have introduced a bill in the House of Commons to guarantee workers' rights, and the Labour Party voted against it.
Mr. Speaker, the record is clear. This government voted down our amendment to protect workers' rights. The Environment Secretary said he wanted a green Brexit. Yet again, Conservative MPs voted down Labour's amendments to guarantee environmental protection.
Meanwhile, the UK government has proposed to continue to engage in free trade in goods and services with the European Union after Brexit. This was disclosed by the Chancellor Philip Hammond during the autumn 2017 budget statement.
I report today on an economy that continues to grow, continues to create more jobs than ever before, and continues to confound those who seek to talk it down. An economy set on a path to a new relationship with our European neighbours and a new future outside the European Union. A future that will be full of change, full of new challenges, and above all, full of new opportunities. And in this budget, we express our resolve to look forwards, not backwards, to embrace that change, to meet those challenges head on, and to seize those opportunities for Britain. The negotiations on our future relationship with the EU are in a critical phase. My right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, has been clear that we seek a deep and special partnership based on free and frictionless trade in goods and services, close collaboration on security, and strong mutual respect and friendship. And as Chancellor, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am clear that one of the biggest boosts we can provide to businesses and families, one of the best ways to protect British jobs and prosperities as we build that new future, is to make early progress in delivering my right honourable friend's vision, with an implementation agreement that allows businesses to plan and invest with confidence. And this government will make the pursuit of that progress a top priority in the weeks ahead. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, while we work to achieve this deep and special partnership, we are determined to ensure that the country is prepared for every possible outcome. We have already invested almost £700 million in Brexit preparations, and today I am setting aside over the next 2 years another £3 billion, and I stand ready to allocate further sums if and when needed. Mr. Deputy Speaker, no one should doubt our resolve. But this budget is about much more than Brexit. The world is on the brink of a technological revolution, one that will change the way we work and live and transform our living standards for generations to come. And we face a choice. Either we embrace the future, seize the opportunities which lie within our grasp, and build on Britain's great global success story, or, as the party opposite advocates, reject change and turn inwards to the failed and irrelevant dogmas of the past. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have no doubts. We choose the future. We choose to run towards change, not away from it, to prepare our people to meet the challenges ahead, not to hide from them.
And the government also announced a series of financial intervention in the NHS and to ease cost of travel. Delivering the autumn budget statement, the Chancellor Philip Hammond stated that government is determined to help reduce pressure on household spending and invest over £3.75 billion in the NHS.
The cost of travel is also an important factor for families and businesses. From April 2019, I will again freeze short-haul air passenger duty rates, and I will also freeze long-haul economy rates, paid for by an increase on premium class tickets and on private jets. Sorry, Lewis. For those who don't stretch to a private jet, I can announce a new rail card for those aged 26 to 30, giving 4.5 million more young people a third off their rail fares. And I will, Mr. Deputy Speaker, once again cancel the fuel duty rise for both petrol and diesel that is scheduled for April. Since 2010, we will have saved the average car driver £850 and the average van driver over £2,100 compared to Labour's escalator plans. Fuel duty has now been frozen for the longest period in 40 years at a total cost to the Exchequer of £46 billion since 2010. Mr. Deputy Speaker, our NHS is one of our great institutions, an essential part of what we are as a nation, and a source of pride, the length and breadth of the country. Its values are the values of the British people, and we will always back it. Dedicated NHS staff are handling the challenges of an ageing population and a rapidly advancing technology with skill and commitment, and we salute them. Mr. Deputy Speaker, although you wouldn't think so to listen to the Leader of the Opposition, as he regularly talks down the achievements of the NHS, although you wouldn't think so, the number of patients being treated is at record levels, cancer survival rates are at their highest ever level, 17 million people are now able to access GP appointments in the evenings and at weekends, and public satisfaction amongst hospital inpatients is at its highest level in more than 20 years. It is central to this government's vision that everyone has access to the NHS free at the point of need. That is why we endorsed and funded the NHS's 5-year forward view in 2014. But even with this additional funding, we acknowledge that the service remains under pressure, and today we respond. First, we will deliver an additional £10 billion package of capital investment in frontline services over the course of this Parliament to support the sustainability and transformation plans which will make our NHS more resilient, investing for an NHS fit for the future. But we also recognise that the NHS is under pressure right now. I am therefore exceptionally and outside the spending review process making an additional commitment of resource funding of £2.8 billion to the NHS in England. £350 million immediately to allow trusts to plan for this winter, £1.6 billion in 2018-19, with the balance in 1920, taking the extra resource into the NHS next year to £3.75 billion in total. Meaning, Mr. Deputy Speaker, meaning that our NHS will receive a £7.5 billion increase to its resource budget over this year and next. Mr. Deputy Speaker, our nation's nurses provide invaluable support to us all in our time of greatest need and deserve our deepest gratitude for their tireless efforts. My right honourable friend, the Health Secretary, has already begun discussions with health unions on pay structure modernisation for Agenda for Change staff to improve recruitment and retention. He will submit evidence to the independent pay review body in due course. But I want to assure NHS staff and patients and members of this House that if the Health Secretary's talks bear fruit, I will protect patient services by providing additional funding for such a settlement.
Following the resignation of former President of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, some Zimbabweans have expressed different opinions about the new leadership of the country, led by the former Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa, who is now the President.
You know, with this new government which is coming, it's like the person who is coming was there before, and we don't know what he's thinking because of the previous things that he and the other ZANU people were doing. I don't know if those things are going to change or we are going for the worst.
Oh, I was so joyful, I was so happy, just because I was waiting for this time to come. Ever since I was born and I grew, the only person whom I know was Robert Mugabe as the president. So I was so happy to see him stepping down. It's an advantage to our economy, it's an advantage to our children, it's an advantage to us also to have employment.
I think they've changed. Now we are happy, we are free to do our business, sell our flags, because it's our flag, it's our Zimbabwean flag. So we have to sell it. Everyone have to buy his flag for himself or herself. Mnangagwa and the government before, is that the same? So what they change? What another government, if MDC or another part, was ZANU the same? If I'm looking, we are going to struggle the same way. So I want we want something in Zimbabwe which is better.
Meanwhile, international community has promised to support the new leadership of the country to overcome its challenges.
Newspaper headlines marking the end of the Mugabe era, Zimbabweans are already moving on.
What happened before is past. What we need is forgive each other and build this country again and bring sanity and unity.
The new leadership should create jobs and employment. We do not expect the new leadership to be corrupt. That would disappoint people.
Former Vice President Emerson Mnangagwa told supporters in Harare on Wednesday that he needs help not just from the Zimbabweans, but from everyone after he's sworn in as president.
We need the cooperation of the continent of Africa. We need the cooperation of our friends outside the continent. That we shall achieve. I am already receiving messages of cooperation and support for us to grow our economy.
As the country awaits his swearing in, the international community is pledging support for a new course after Mugabe's divisive and controversial rule.
We, together with our partners in Europe, Africa, and internationally, are ready to support Zimbabwe on its path to a new future.
British Prime Minister Theresa May told Parliament that Britain will do everything it can to support the change.
We want to see a democratic, free, secure Zimbabwe where people across communities, from communities across Zimbabwe, are able to carry out their lives without fear, without oppression. And we want to see that country rejoining the international community.
China, which enjoyed close relations with Zimbabwe under Mugabe, said Beijing believes in the Zimbabwean people's ability to maintain the country's political stability.
As a good friend of Zimbabwe, China highly appreciates that all parties of Zimbabwe could bear in mind the long-term and fundamental interests of the country to solve related problems peacefully and properly via dialogue.
The Chinese official went on to praise Zimbabwe's former president, saying Mugabe improved China-Africa relations. Meanwhile, other countries, including in Africa and the United States, have expressed support for Zimbabwe's transition. Mariama Diallo, VOA News, Washington.
With that story on Zimbabwe, we conclude the news roundup for this week. Thank you for being part of the program. I'm Tunde Alabi. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye. As part of our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create a platform to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely green community in the United Kingdom, our channel, Ben TV, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Another business segment of Dialogue in Diaspora, 2 to 3 p.m. every Monday. But guess what? You know you can be part of the program. Just send us an email at bentelevisionuk@gmail.com. Dialogue in Diaspora, the voice, your opinion on our TV.